Hello everyone, it's Cube, and here I have the X-Man Tornado V2 and the X-Man Tornado V3, which are both very good cubes. When the X-Man Tornado V2 released, everyone loved it, it was hype. When the X-Man Tornado V3 released, it blew everyone's minds away. And these are both really good cubes, but which one's better? In this video I'm going to be comparing them, so let's start. I don't dislike either of these cubes. I love them both, but one of them I like just a little bit more. And this is just my opinion. It's not a fact, so if I offend anyone, I'm so sorry. This is not me stating that one of these are better than the other. It's just my opinion on which one I think is just a little bit better. Just so you know, I'm using the flagship version of the X-Man Tornado V3 and just the standard no corner to core magnets for the V2. I'll talk about that more later. I'm just going to start with some of the overall details. As you can see here, the X-Man Tornado V3 is primary plastic and the V2 is black internals. And they're both similar in size, but the Tornado V3 is just a half a millimeter larger at 55.5. The Tornado is 55 millimeters. The V3 comes out at 73 grams and the V2 at 71. Also, this one has corner to core magnets, so that's what makes it a little bit heavier. If I had the standard version of the V3, it'd probably be lighter. Overall, they're both very light, and I can barely tell a difference at all between them. Now let's compare how they feel. Let's start with the V2. So the V2 is a very satisfying, smooth, buttery feeling. It feels like a cloud. I don't know if that's the best way to explain it. It's a very smooth, very quiet. It's not loud at all. Neither of these cubes are very loud. And it definitely feels different than the Tornado V3, but I really do like the way that this one feels. It's a good cube, and it's pretty smooth. You can kind of like hear the magnets click a little bit, but it's nothing to really bother you about. But yeah, it does have some lockups, but not too many. So let's move on to the V3. The V3 is also a really good feeling cube. It's quite the opposite though of what the Tornado V2 feels like. I mean, it kind of feels similar to the V2, except for it's way more clicky than the V2. It's not quite as smooth and buttery, if you know what I mean. Honestly, it's a little bit sandy. You can't really hear the magnets click as much though, but it's a little bit sandy even after I've lubed it. It's nothing to like stop you from buying the cube. It's not incredibly sandy at all. It's just a tiny bit. But honestly, it is a really good feeling, and I enjoy it. It definitely doesn't lock up as much as the V2, and it's a good cube, honestly. I really do like the way this one feels. If you prefer a kind of blocky, more controlled feeling, I'd go for the V3, but I personally really like the buttery smooth feeling of the V2 a little bit more than the V3. That doesn't make it a better cube though, and the V3 is way better than the V2 in a couple of other ways. For an example, the corner cutting on the V3 is a little better than the V2, so let me just show you real quick. The V2 definitely has really good corner cutting, like as you can see here, it cuts very smoothly on just standard cuts. It can go past 45 degrees. As you can see, it's like effortless. It's really good corner cutting on this cube. Still going, wow. And yep, wow. Yeah, as you can see, this is really good. There it goes, struggling a little bit, but the problem with this cube is the reverse corner cutting. It's good, but yeah, it doesn't go any farther than that, which is kind of bad. Even a little more that way, yeah. Like as you can see, the reverse corner cutting is not the best on this cube at all. It can do little movements. If you really force it, it can go, but like as you can see, it just locks there, which this is one of the things I really do not like about the V2, and another thing that a lot of people don't like about the V2. When the V3 released, it kind of fixed the corner cutting. The reverse corner cutting made it so much better. As you can see, just normal corner cutting is still really good. It's a little bit not quite as good as the V2, also because I have the V2 on a way looser setting than this one. So that's another reason why the corner cutting isn't quite as good, but reverse corner cutting is way better. And also, this is a tighter setting on the V3. The V3 has a tighter setting than the V2, and it's still reverse corner cuts better than the V2. So as you can see, the corner cutting is definitely better. And if I loosened the V3 up a little more, it'd probably be way better than the V2. Both of these cubes are incredibly fast. I have a J-perm on both of them, and I'm just going to see how fast I can solve this J-perm. On the Tornado V2, we got 1.23 seconds. That's pretty good. Now for the V3. Uh-oh. Let's try that one more time. Wow, 1.23 seconds. That was the same as the V2. As you can see, these two are very similar in speed. Like, I can barely tell difference at all between them. Wow. The V2 is, I feel like it's a little bit more effortless to turn with a little less lockups, but the V3 is fine. There's like barely any lockups, and honestly, I don't think you'd tell a difference at all. Now let's move on to the adjustment systems of these cubes. The V2 has this cool black tool, which I'll get to more on in just a second. The V3 comes with this transparent tool, which is only used to adjust the magnets. So, I'm just going to start off with this black tool. So for the V2, and you can use it for the V3. Actually, no, you can't use it for the V3. You can only use the flathead screwdriver for the magnets. So as you can see here, we have 3 tools in the end. If I can get this camera to focus, there we go. We got 2 screwdrivers, or actually 3 if you include this flathead screwdriver. Those 2 are other ones. And this third one is used to adjust the magnet. So as you can see, that tool is for the actual adjustment system, and they just pop out of the tip like that, and you can just replace them, which is pretty nice. It's for the magnets, which I'm just going to show real quick, because the magnets are pretty much the exact same thing in both the Tornado V2 and the V3. They have the same magnets, but I'm just going to demonstrate on the V2 because it's a little easier to see if I can get this camera to focus. There you go. As you can see, there's the magnet, and then there's a plus symbol and a minus symbol and 3 settings in the middle. See where that line on the magnet itself lines up on? That is the setting that you're on. I'm currently in the medium setting, and you can just change it with that flathead screwdriver tool that it comes with in either of the cubes. So I'm not going to change it right now, but just so you can see, it's on the middle setting right now. Same mechanism on the V3, it's just harder to see. You can use the transparent flathead screwdriver or just the black one in the V2, it doesn't really matter. The Tornado V3 is a very similar adjustment system to the V2, but I'm going to just show you what the V2 is first. So as you can see, there are those 2 holes, okay, which are in the number. And those holes currently inside are 1. And what happens is the larger the number, okay, inside of the holes is a smaller access distance, sorry, or the tighter the cube, okay? You might see a little trench inside of the plastic, and that's for the spring tension. To adjust this, you just put the holes in that black tube, okay, and you can put line up the, whatever you call those teeth, and you can turn it, but those are not teeth. I don't know the proper definition. If you turn counterclockwise, you can adjust the axis distance, so the more counterclockwise you turn, the tighter your cube will be. If you turn it clockwise, it will adjust the spring tension, okay? And the larger number that's inside of that hole in the plastic, okay, the tighter the spring will be. I'm horrible at explaining the adjustment system for this cube, and I'm sorry if you didn't understand it. I just recommend go watch another video on how to adjust it. They'll probably explain it way better than I can. Now let's move on. The V3 is the exact same adjustment mechanism, except you don't need a tool. So what's cool about this cube is you can just use your fingers, if I can find it. Where is it? Where is it? I'm sorry. Okay, this happens to everyone. There it is. This is, I think it's called a lunchbox handle. I believe that's the proper term. And pretty much you can just turn it, okay, to adjust it. And it's really handy, really easy. You don't need any tool or anything. And it's pretty much the same mechanism as the V2. The larger the number, the tighter it is. And you just line up that hole down there and that crack in the plastic. And yeah, that's that. So now let's move on to my final thoughts. So my final thoughts are going to determine on the price of these cubes, which I feel like they both have very fair prices, but let's start with the Tornado V3. So the standard version of the V3, which is just like the V2, but the newer version, is $25, which is the same as the V2, because the V2 is $25. The flagship version, which is what I have, which has corner-to-core magnets, comes out at $33. And then there's the Pioneer version, which has corner-to-core magnets and maglev, which is $40. Then there's the Pioneer version plus UV coating, which is $45, which it gets a little bit pricey once you get up to the UV coating. The V2 is $25. There's the only one version, the standard version. However, I believe a company made a corner-to-core magnet version of the V2, which it's not on Speedcube Shop, so I don't know where it is anymore, so I can't determine the price on that. But all these prices come from speedcubeshop.com. Now for the moment you've been waiting for. Which cube do I like better? And I'm going to have to give it to the V3. Sorry, V2. I really do like the V3. It's a really good cube. It's fast. It's smooth enough. It's satisfying. It's honestly a really good cube, and I really enjoy turning it. But the V2 is also incredibly good. If you prefer the smooth, buttery feel, I'd recommend getting this one. It's very good. But they're both pretty good. And I lubed both of these cubes with Lunar from Speedcube Shop, which is a really good lube, and I would highly recommend it. If you've made it this far into the video, congratulations, and just so you know, I'm doing a Q&A soon, okay? So it would be amazing if you could post some questions down in the comments for me to answer in the upcoming Q&A. And if you're like, oh, Cuban, this video was posted 15 years ago, if you're watching it 15 years in the future, I'm still taking questions because I do Q&As pretty often. I mean, not all the time, but pretty often, so it's always nice to have questions to choose from. Well, that's all I got for you today. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing. It will really help me out. Anyways, I'll see you guys all in the next video. Goodbye.